We're starting Be'ez Hashem Siman Yud Zayin and Maamar Shalosh Shevuos.
Yeah.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the background to this is that in the previous Siman, Rabbi discussed the Lashon of Rashi on the Shalosh Shevuos. The Shalosh Shevuos starts out with Shelo Yalu B'choima.
Yes.
Rashi says Yachad B'yad Chazaka, together with a strong hand. That's called immigrating with as a wall. So the question was, what does Rashi mean? So the Avnei Nezer learned that Yad Chazaka means military force.
Yeah.
So the Avnei Nezer actually was choizer from this 2 Simanim later, and he says that really even a peaceful aliyah could be considered aliyah b'choima, because we see from Yuma, we see from the sugya about, that Ezra came up. If they would have come up with a wall, that would have been, even though they had permission, that would have been considered better. So we see that as a wall doesn't have to be a military force. So the Avnei Nezer himself is choizer, and he really holds that peaceful is also considered choima. But why did Rashi say Yad Chazaka? Rashi's coming to exclude a case where a king would give permission. Let's say a king of the Eretz Yisrael would give permission for Yidden to come up, the whole Klal Yisrael to come up. And the Avnei Nezer says that would be a pekida. That would be a visitation. That was like a form of redemption. That Hashem would remember the Jewish people and cause the king to let them all come up.
I did look up the Mal's view of the word chazak. Whenever chazak is used in Lashon PL, it refers to giving strength to others. Because the word chazak means in essence strong, means the entire thing, and not gibor, the strength is put into action. Chazak just means in the whole thing in essence, and the strength being put to action. You say kli chazak, you don't say kli gibor.
Right.
Because kli chazak refers to the whole vessel's essence of the vessel. Right.
Not taking action.
Right. Gibor refers to going to action, and so that's why chazak is giving strength to others.
Okay.
And whenever you use words in the hifil, in maksek, it refers to grabbing strongly.
Okay.
So therefore, chazak is not a lashon of fighting.
Okay.
Just proving the point further. So I was the 8 time you machaziga with those who grasp it.
Okay. Okay. So the Rebbe asked a few kashas on this.
Which proves further why choma, because choma is in essence strong, but the wall does nothing.
Right, it's not an active object.
Active object, right, which only proves the point further how Yad cannot possibly mean fighting. Look at the Maamar in the Karma for the word chazak, and you'll see.
Okay, that's a good Maamar. Good, okay. So in Siman Tes Zayin, the Rebbe asked the kasha on the Avnei Nezer that it says, B'yad chazaka yishalchem. And in Parashat Shmois, Paro will let the Yidden out with a strong hand. And he didn't force the Yidden out with force.
Which proves further, chazak means the essence strong, not in any action being done.
Right. And what did he do? He
begged them to leave.
Begged them, right. So begging is also considered strong. And any kind of strength or resolve or...
That's not an active strength, it's chazak.
It's called Yad Chazak. Okay.
Like you say, Eitz chazak, it appears plenty strong. You don't say Eitz gibor. That does not exist.
Right. Yeah. So Rashi would have said B'gvura, then
that would have meant, but because chazak is not actively being done, therefore it's one further. Okay,
so now starting Siman Yud Zayin, now he's going to explain the Lashon of Rashi in Ksubas. Uvazeh misparish hetev Lashon Rashi zal. Now we understand well what Rashi meant. Shekasav yachad biyad chazaka. He says 2 things: together and with a strong hand. De'im nema the kavanasay biyad chazaka al yidei milchama shalei b'shus. If you're going to tell me, like the Avnei Nezer, like the Rebbe learned the Avnei Nezer's first pshat, really, not the pshat that he stays with in the end, because the pshat he stays with in the end is that basically yad chazaka is just a t'nai, that that it's not a king letting them in and giving them redemption. Hashem is making the king give them redemption. But going with the Avnei Nezer's first pshat, that any kind of aliyah b'shus is mutter. So Oibazoi, what's Yad Chazaka mean? It means force. So he says, "V'shehevin came milashon Chachamei Zal." If you say that Rashi understood that from the lashon of Chazal, Shaloi Yalu B'choima, the Koi al Shaloi B'shus. That's called not b'shus. That's not with permission. Shezeh Nikra Choima. That's called as a wall when they're going up without permission. So if that's the case, how does Rashi know to add on the word yachad, which means together? Since the point of the Gemara in saying the word choima is that it's without permission, that's the reason for the isser.
What do you mean the isser?
The isser of the Shalosh Shevuos, according to this tzad to say that the tzad is that it's only because you're doing it against the will of the government. So then it doesn't make a difference if it is
together or not,
together with a large number of Jews or a small number of Jews. Because if you're doing a merida, you're doing a rebellion, who cares if it's 100,000 or a million?
And yachad. So bottom line is, who cares if it's the kings or not?
So the question is, so basically Rashi is being soiser himself, because if he's saying biyad chazaka is the pshat, then what's yachad mean?
Oh,
that's what he's asking.
Make perfect sense.
Elamai, he's going to show from this that Rashi doesn't mean Yad Chazaka like that in Look at
right, I mean together. The word Yad uses Yad Chazaka, but Yad means together grew. Who cares if where's the kings or not?
So how does Rashi know to add on this condition that it has to be a large group? According to the pshat that Yad Chazaka means by force, then there's no makor, there's no source in the Gemara to add on the concept of a large group. Therefore, it seems obvious that Kavanas Divrei Rashi Zal Shetafas Lashon Rishon, that Rashi meant to stress the first thing he says, Yachad. That's the main point of Choyma. Choyma means large group. Masha Amar Yachad, Shel Isserhu Ba'aliyam Rubu Yachad. The Isser is to go up as a large group together. Masha Amar Achakach B'Yad Chazaka. This that Rashi adds on the words Yad Chazaka afterwards, Hu Lefarish HaMaimer. He's just coming to explain the Lashon of Gemara. The Lama Nikra Aliyah Meruba Yachad B'Lashon B'Choyma. That why does the Gemara call going up with a large group a wall? So on that Rashi answers, Bishvil Aliyah Hi B'Yachad, when you do an Aliyah together, a large immigration together, Yesh Lahem Shama Yad Chazaka. They automatically have a strong hand.
Right.
Not put into practice like you said, but just an innate strong hand.
But even if they go with weapons, they still are strongly in the land, but without anything active. Because living there, that was a shirt without activity.
Kloimer, he's chazkas yiseira. It's a very large amount of strength and resolve. Kanal. That's why it is called a wall. V'chein hu b'yafei kol she'atakti la'el l'shoinai. That the yafei kol, the Reb Shmuel ben Yitzchak Yafi from Constantinople, Pirush Yafei Kol and Medrash, that the Rebbe brought in Siman, I think it was Yud Aleph. He learns that Shaloyal B'Choyma means to go up even with permission, and he says it after he brings Rashi, and he doesn't say that he's arguing in Rashi, so it's mashma that he's saying it in Rashi. Take a look what he says. First he brings down Rashi, Yachad B'Yad Chazaka, V'shuv Pirish Achakach, and then he explains in the second shot the Mayer B'Shus that is talking with permission. U'maisi Raya Mi'Gemara Yuma, he brings the Raya from the Gemara Yuma Daf Test. V'loy Mistaber Sheyachlok B'Ferish Al Rashi Zal. It doesn't make sense that he would just disagree with Rashi like that. V'nira Shestoiver Shegam B'Rashi Zal Efshel Lefarish Kain.
Do you have an answer?
The Yafei Kol.
Right.
The Yafei Kol, who says this pshat, it holds that even Rashi could mean that pshat. The Mayer B'Shus, that even with permission it's awesome. Gam Mefarish Achakach B'Yafei Kol. Now he's going to bring another raya from the continuation of the Medrash. That the Yafei Kol says, Masha Amar B'Medrash Rabbah, Achar Shehevi Yashvua, Shelo Yalu Choyma Min HaGoyla. Right after the Medrash Rabbah brings down that Shvua, Im Kein Lama Melech HaMashiach Ba. If so, why should the Melech HaMashiach have to come to gather in the exiles of the Jews? So in other words, Upirish Bazem, the Yafei Kol explains, if the Yidden are going to come back as a wall before the time, then Lama Yitztar Melech HaMashiach Labai. Why will Mashiach have to come to gather in the Nitchei Yisrael? They're already gathered in before he comes.
Yes, but the purpose of Mashiach.
When we give the Kaimal on the Melech HaMashiach, since we know from many psukim that Mashiach is going to be the one to gather in the exiles,
You know, Kol says this?
We can't, the Yafei Kol is talking here. He says, we can't gather ourselves in together. Ad Kan Lashanya. That's the end quote of the Yafei Kol.
Right, that's the same word the Rabbi wrote, the Yafei Kol, that's what it's called?
Yeah.
What was the name of the Rabbi?
Shmuel ben Yitzchak Yafi.
Where did he live?
He lives in Constantinople.
It's Turkey, right?
Turkey.
How long ago?
About 500 years ago.
So early Achron.
Early Achron, yes. And we see from his holy words, gathering ourselves together, even with permission, is against many psukim shehamelech HaMashiach yikabetz des Yisrael, that Mashiach is going to be the one to gather the Yidden.
And the Rambam even says that whoever doesn't believe Mashiach or wait is coming, he's not only kofer in the Nevi'im, but even the Torah Moshe is kofer. Only shocking is Rambam didn't take Ksuvim as well, because in the Ksuvim talk about Mashiach.
Yeah. Okay.
It's true. Shiur we said before benching, and Daniel there's a whole talks about Mashiach, and Daniel's last Shevuos.
Right.
And there's even a mention of even Mashiach, Shiur Shim, which is an allegory, the Yisrael goes of Mashiach coming.
Good.
So somebody, but even though the Rambam even clearly points out, it's clear not to believe in Mashiach, or not the way it's coming.
Right.
Even if somebody says he believes in Mashiach, but if he says that they'll gather gold without Mashiach, it's not like awaiting his coming.
So this is what I was going to get to. A lot of people ask, where is the Shalosh Shevuos mentioned in the Rambam? And this is going to be a big subject later on in Vayoel Moshe.
I did ask you that. I actually found where it's in Vayoel Moshe, how the Shar brings the answer, how the Rabbi asked at Kasha, and he said that the Rambam wrote Klom, not Pratim.
The Rabbi asked why the Rambam leaves out the Shalosh Shevuos?
I do believe so, but the Rambam wrote Klom, not Pratim.
Okay, listen, we'll get to it when we get. It's going to take the Rebbe a long time to explain that question. Maybe
because I was looking here for an answer, and I think I actually found it.
Okay.
Because he said that the Ram wrote Klal, not Pratim, and he wrote just like the Rush wrote Klalim as halachas, and the Pratim and Shevuos so the Rambam. Okay. And we find in Geras Teman he brings down Hilchos Mashiach to prove his point in the Geras Teman.
Okay, well. Let's wait till we learn it inside. But I want to just say one thing here about this, because we mentioned it. I always tell people, one of the truths I tell people is that the Rambam in Hilchos Melachim says there the things that Mashiach is going to do.
Yes.
He lists off the things. He says he's going to teach the Torah to the Yidden and force everybody to follow it. And then he's going to gather in the Yidden from the Golus, and he's going to build the base of Mikdash.
Maybe he says first. The Golus last part.
Right. But in any case, he says three things that Mashiach has to do. He says, Loichem Melchemes Hashem, Mekabetz Nidchei Yisrael, and Boina Beis HaMikdash Al Mekoimai. So, I tell people like this. The Rambam is telling us here the three things that Mashiach has to do.
Yes.
Those three things are the same three things that we're also to do before Mashiach comes. We're not allowed to do Aliyah B'Choyma, that's considered gathering in the Yidden before the time. We're not allowed to be Doichik Sekates and build the Beis HaMikdash. And we're not allowed to fight wars and be Moed B'Umos. So those things that Mashiach is going to do, we're not allowed to do. So the Rambam is telling us, when he says Mashiach is going to do these things, he's telling us that we're not going to do these things. The two sides of one coin.
Let's see.
Alright. And by the way, I want to say one more thing on this. This raya here, that he brings from the Medrash, is a raya against the maskana of the Avnei Nezer too. I was saying before...
the Avnei is wrong, that means?
This is a kasha on him. I'm not saying he's wrong, I'm just saying this is a kasha on him. Maybe he'll have a different way to learn the Medrash.
Because I believe the Avnei was recognized as a very great posek of his time.
Yeah, well, for sure. But I'm just saying this kasha is a kasha on him.
I see.
Even Lefi the Maskana. Why? Because here he's saying that we can't gather ourselves in before Mashiach. Even if it's a Pekida, even if the king gives the right for the whole Jewish people to come up. So that would be a kasha even on the Maskana. Now the Avnei Nezer could dray out of it, because he could say like this. He could say this line of the Medrash is to be read differently. The line of the Medrash says, Im kein lama melech HaMashiach ba, lekabetz nidchei Yisrael. He'll put a question mark in the middle. Why does Melech HaMashiach have to come?
To be Israel.
To be Mekabetz Nidchei Yisrael. In other words, once let's say we learn about the Shalosh Shevuos, and according to the Avnei Nezer, everybody could basically come up before, but maybe not everybody will come. Maybe Melech HaMashiach will do the rest. I don't know, there's different ways to learn this Medrash. I'm just trying to say, but this is the kasha that he's asking is going to be a kasha even Lefi the Maskana. Okay. Uva Orachaim HaKadosh Parshas B'chukoisai Al Kasu V'eschem El Zora Bagoim. Now, the Orachaim on Parshas B'chukoisai brings down the Shalosh Shevuos there, and he fits it in with the Psukim. The Psukim say like this. It says V'hashimoi si ani es ha'aretz, I'll make the land desolate. V'shamu aleha oivechem hayoshvim ba, and the enemies of the Jews who live there will find it desolate. And ve'eschem, and you, the Jewish people, I will scatter among the nations. V'hari koisi acharechem charav, and I'll send the sword after you. So the Orachaim HaKadosh learns that the first pasuk says, "I'll scatter you." That's a kiyum of the first shvuah. Shelo yalu b'choyma. In other words, the first shvuah is designed to hold that punishment in place of eschem ezar bagoyim. And then the second pasuk, I'll send the sword after you. That's chas v'shalom. That's the punishment for the Shevuos. That there'll be the Gemara says if they don't keep the Shevuah, then the Yidden will be like the gazelles and the deer. So then the pasuk says that there'll be the land will be a shamem, the land will be desolate. That's a reason for the scattering. That's why the Yidden had to be scattered, why they couldn't get their oynish in Eretz Yisrael, because the land has to be desolate to be mechaper for the aveira of Shemitah. Okay, so let's see it inside. Kosev Ezel Hashayin or Chaim HaKadosh says, Sheishbia Hashem Es Yisrael v'chulu shelo yalu b'chayma. He's mashbia the Yidden, he makes them swear not to go up as a wall, Pirish biyad chazaka. And he quotes Rashi, biyad chazaka. Yes. V'hu maimer ve'eschem ezar lagoyim. That's the meaning of the pasuk, I will scatter you among the nations. The oimroi, and the next pasuk, or the next half of the pasuk, v'harikoisi acharechem charev, I'll send the sword after you. Yisbar al derech sha'amru she'imein mekayim mashvua ani matiris besarchem. That means what the Gemara ends off, that the punishment for the Shalosh Shevuos is that Hashem will be matir the baster of Yidden. I'll send the sword after you. What? There'll be a sword hanging in front of you. If you don't fulfill the decree of being scattered among the nations.
Well, seemingly in Israel right now, there's constant wars, and they keep, whenever they win the Arabs, they keep coming back at them.
Right, it's an endless situation of war.
It just doesn't stop, and the excuse is that they consider holy, or committing they consider a holy thing to do to fight. Just like they're killing us for it.
Okay, then the next pasuk says, "V'haisa artzachem shmama." Right, your land will be desolate. Charva and arechem yu charva. The cities will be destroyed. Hu nesinas ta'am aladavar. That's the reason for these Shalosh Shevuos. Why does Hashem want us to be scattered? So the land should be desolate, and the cities should be destroyed. So that therefore the land will get its kapara, will get its rest from the Shemitahs. That's why you have to be in the land of your enemies. That's why it says you in the land of your enemies. Ad kan l'shoinoi, you in Sham. End quote. So what the Rebbe wants to bring out from here basically is that the Chaim HaKadosh says the words Yad Chazaka, and still he learns the Shevuah in such a way that it can't be a type of rebellion against the nations that's being forbidden here, because even with their permission, if you go back before the time, the land won't get its rest. That's what he's going to say. So obviously the Chaim HaKadosh learned Yad Chazaka to mean any kind of aliyah, even with permission. So look what he says. He starts out learning b'chayma means with a strong hand. And afterwards he says the reason they have to be in the land of their enemies. Why? So the land should be desolate. According to this reason, it's clear. Even with permission, it's not allowed to come up. Why? The land is that they should be davka in the land of their enemies. That's what the gzeira is, the decree. Even so, he still uses Rashi's language. You see that the Chaim HaKadosh held there's no way to learn up these words Yad Chazaka, that the Mayri Davka Shloi B'Shus, that it's talking about Davka against the will of the nations. Okay? Yes. Now, one point I want to make about this pasuk in B'chukoisai, while we're on it, is take a look at the Maamar sheet in page 1. There's a famous Ramban, and this is the basis for it, this Sefer, that the Tzionim always quote. They always say, look, we're in Eretz Yisrael after so many years, 2,000 years, the land was desolate, and all of a sudden now it's blooming and giving its fruits to us. And the Ramban says that Eretz Yisrael will never give its fruits to anybody else. And you see, it's true that the Yidden were the first ones who were able to make Eretz Yisrael bloom. Alright, so let's see it inside. It goes on this pasuk in B'chukoisai. I will make desolate the land. Zu mida toiva. This is a good thing. In the middle of the Toichel, Hashem sticks in a good thing.
Yeah.
That what? That the Jews should not say, Hoyel v'golinu mi'artzeinu. Now that we're out of our land, now our enemies are going and living it up there. No, your enemies are going to find the land desolate too. Who live there. No enemies who come and live in Eretz Yisrael will find any satisfaction there.
Well, yeah, some even quote Mark Twain, who did travel to Eretz Yisrael and wrote how desolate it is. So he said, you see, even Mark Twain made it desolate. When Jews came back, everything good.
Right, exactly.
Because some even quote Mark Twain for that.
Exactly. But there are people at the same time as Mark Twain went to Eretz Yisrael and found it full of fear.
Because they only knew certain parts of it, of course.
Right.
It says in Eicharava, in the 6th, Rabbi Zer said, look how arrogant Eretz Yisrael. It still bears fruits.
Right. Exactly.
You can't look at just one part of the land and assume the whole land is desolate. Right. Eretz Yisrael, in fact, what is halachically Eretz Yisrael is actually bigger than Zionists actually have. Because they're part of Jordan, Al Pi Halach Eretz Yisrael, and parts of present-day Lebanon and Syria are halachically Eretz Yisrael. So they don't even have all what, and they may even have parts which aren't even halachically Eretz Yisrael. Eilat, for example, might not even be Eretz Yisrael halakhically.
That's true. All right. So now take a look at the Ramban. What's schwer about this Sefer is it sounds a little bit like a midas stoim. You know what midas stoim is, right? When you're selfish and you want to have something for yourself. If you can't have it for yourself, at least don't let him have it. That's midas stoim. That's how the people from Stoim acted.
Oh, really?
So, this sounds like that, right? Yeah, now that we're in Galus, but at least they shouldn't get it.
Yeah.
Right? So take a look at the Ramban. The Ramban learns it a little different.
Highlighted,
page 2. This is a good tiding for the Jews. Our land won't accept our enemies. He's saying this is a raya. It's not that we're selfish and we don't want them to enjoy it. It's that we want this. This is like a proof to the Jewish religion, a proof to the truth of the Torah that we see there's a beautiful land there and nobody could settle it. That's what he says. You won't find any place in the whole world, Eretz Asher Hi Toiva Rechava, nice and bountiful land like Eretz Yisrael, Asher Haisen Shevuos Me'olam that used to be settled, and V'hi Chareva, now it's destroyed. Kamoya. Why? Since we left it, like Kibla Uma V'Lashem, it never accepted any other people. V'kulam Mishtablim Lo Yeshiva, they're all trying to settle it. V'ein Le'el Yadam, they don't have a success. So, what do I want to show? I want to show the Ramban says it's not a selfishness, it's more like a proof to the Emunah.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that he's saying it's not that they don't have peiros from Eretz Yisrael. It's natural. If you plant seeds, you'll get peiros.
Yes.
But it's a different part. It's that they can't settle it because there's never been a peaceful, long-lasting country that has been able to settle Eretz Yisrael. You see that it was conquered again and again and again.
On an empire, British mandate.
It kept on being conquered and reconquered and reconquered. It was never for a long term one people's land.
Right. Palestine was never its own country.
That's also true, right?
Palestine was always ruled by Arab countries, sometimes by the Crusades, sometimes by the Turks, or at different times. Yeah, Palestine was ruled differently.
But if you think back to the history, there's so many invasions that took place. The Romans took it, then the Byzantines had it, then the Persians took it, then the Muslims took it, then the Crusaders took it, and then that was later. But even before that, then there was the Mamluks and the Tartars and the Mongols. There were so many invasions.
Too many groups. And Palestine was never an individual country.
It was never an individual country, and every invader came and massacred the people and put their people there, and then they ended up getting massacred by somebody else. It was like nobody could live in it. So if you go on that note,
could you live there? Either it's still being bombed up Tuesday by the Arabs.
Oh, you mean today?
Right. So it's kind of like in Japan. They have signs where to run, what to do in the case of an earthquake. They also have signs in Israel what to do in case of a missile or bomb.
There's the bomb shelter.
And signs what to do in case of bomb missile, like they have in Japan. Signs for earthquakes, because it's just like Japan's earthquake zone. You'll fool yourself if you think otherwise. Guy would be for missile bomb in Israel too.
Yeah. So the point is that there are pairs during Galus.
Of course,
it's not a word of pairs. It's a word of of stability and peace. And the Zionists, in their 67 years of history, have not enjoyed any stability and peace. They've had war after war.
I'll even just say more that, so just because Mark Twain was one part, then he was in the whole land.
Yeah. And then one more point, look at this Kesef Mishnah on page 3 of the Maamar Koimus.
Yeah.
He talks about the Rambam Shita that Paris, that fruit that grew in a guy's land in Eretz Yisrael, is potter from Meiser.
And then where the Bach brings the raya from the grain also, you know that...
then Chadash, right.
That Al Karchecha, there's no way it's even possible that it applies to a guy. What, a guy is mechuyev in the mitzvah of Omer?
Well, okay, that Bach is very controversial. Let's not get into that now.
Right, but I'm only
this
saying
thing about Eretz Yisrael...
For those who agree with the Bach on that, they use the Bach for that. For those who agree...
Okay. But in Eretz Yisrael, if a guy owns land, does the guy have a koyach to be mafkiyah? They take off the chi of Trumas and Meister or not? The Rambam paskins that he does.
The Rambam?
Yeah. This Rambam here, Halach Yud Aleph, says, Peretz ha'akron...
How should the Rambam have held this way? It's far-fetched. A guy doesn't have a set mitzvah, that's far-fetched.
What do you mean he doesn't have a mitzvah?
A guy has set mitzvahs.
So for Keret, that's what he's saying. The guy owns the land, there's no Trumas and Meister.
Oh, no, alright.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay, so then the Kesef Mishnah brings here that there was a minig in Eretz Yisrael to follow this Rambam. He says, "A minig apashit b'chol Eretz Yisrael kedivei Rabbeinu." We followed the Rambam all the years. The Kesef Mishnah lived in Eretz Yisrael, you know.
Yeah.
So even Tzvas, and they didn't take off meiser from goyish fruits.
Yes.
U'miyamenu lo shamanu poitze pelach legozer. We never heard anybody disagreeing. V'yata kam chacham echad. There was one chacham that got up now all of a sudden, and he wanted to change the minig. And the Brisker Rav said this was the mabit. Also an early achar in the time of the Kesef Mishnah, and he says, "V'nir loy shehu mischasid." This chacham holds that he's more from than everybody else. He wants to go against the minig. He takes meiser.
The Mabit wanted this
from the fruit. The Mabit.
How could the Mabit have lisas so far fetched?
Why? It's a machlekes in the Gemara.
Really?
It's not such a far fetched thing. So, he wanted to start a new custom that we should follow the other shita, not the Rambam. And the guy finished them and did everything with them and just sold them to Jews.
So it's kind of what the machlek is that exists about a guy feel with Yasham, kind of like that.
Kind of, right.
Yeah.
So the Kesef Mishnah says very strong words against it. We don't want to start new minhagim and make people to keep new things. And he says they went so far as to place a cherem on anybody who would take meiser from fruits that grew in the land of a goy. And this is a long ongoing dispute even today between the Bnei Brak Rabbanim and the Yerushalayim Rabbanim. And the Yerushalayim Rabbanim, the Bedatz holds like the shita that you don't take meiser, like this Kesef Mishnah. I think
that holds the Mabit.
Yeah. In any case, but you see that going back 500 years, there were lots of fruits growing on goyish land, and it was machlokes, how to deal with them. This is not something that didn't happen during Golus.
But it only makes sense that if you plant the fruit should grow in the land.
And then just to finish this off, look in page Pei Base from Vayoel Moshe, Siman Samach Vav.
Yeah.
Just look ahead a little bit. There's a siman on this. He says, "V'hinei anigrari macharei atzionim." Those who are schlepped after the Tzionim, means the religious Zionists.
Yeah.
Oimrim oid shama shema sheboim harbe anashim l'Eretz Yisrael v'oiskim minatiyah u'misrabim aperes. He says people come to Eretz Yisrael and they plant and fruits grow.
Oh yeah, they say.
They say this Gemara. Just let me finish. Sanhedrin daf tzaddik ches ein lecha kates megulam mizeh. Shenemar ve'atem harei Yisrael an peichem titnu prichem tisu. It's a pasuk that the Gemara says that this is a sign of the end, a sign of Mashiach, that the mountains of Eretz Yisrael are giving their fruits. Okay?
Yes.
V'zeh shtus v'hevel gomer. Rabbi says this is ridiculous. The loy mibayel apir shasheni. The Marsha learns in the second shot. Shakavana shiyeh k'masha kasev b'perek bama madlikin. That it's going to be like the Gemara in Shabbos says, the lo'asi dilanus moitziin peres b'chol yoim. It's not talking about regular fruits, it's talking about miraculous everyday fruits.
Which we don't see every day, yet they grow naturally nowadays, like regular fruits are growing.
That's a change in nature, so that's what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. But nowadays, is not. If that would happen, that would be a sign of the end. After the Pirush Harishon, the Marshal's first shot that it's not that it's going to be miraculous, but it's going to go back to what it was in the times of the Tanakh.
Which surely is not in our time.
Which was very...
surely we can't.
The Gemara says that they saw amazingly big fruits. It says, "K'mavur b'Gemara Kesuvos daf kuf yud beis, the Chazir b'Shuv and Levi lahai ketufe, the kaimi ki igli." he saw these grapes, these clusters of grapes that were as big as caps.
Wow.
And he said, he said, oh, it's caps there between the vineyards. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but B'kitzur, he says that this is not what the Gemara means.
Yeah, the Maharal even learns out that it's part of Chevli Mashiach of fruits not growing even well. The Maharal explained that the four things said are all part of Chevli Mashiach, which is the sign of fruits not growing well. Totally out of what Tzornim believe in. This
that when you plant more things grow. That's not a sign for gula.
Yeah.
All right. Now back to Siman Yud Zayin. He says, I already brought down 2 places in the Ramban where the Ramban says that it's asr even with permission. What were the 2 places? One was the Maamar HaGeula, where he says even though the king gave permission, but the Yidden were afraid to be doiches kates. And then the other place was in the Ramban Chumash that he says in Parshas Kisavai that the point of Galus is to be outside of Eretz Yisrael, and then we won't get the punishments. So you see that you're not allowed to go up even with permission of the king. So all these Achronim hold like this shita. So these are the names that the Rebbe is listing to oppose the Avnei Nezer, and really I said the Avnei Nezer is also chayzer from what he said. So basically everyone holds like this, that going with permission is awesome. This is the Ramban does say that there is a mitzvah for single Jews to go there to Israel and they're Mekayim a mitzvah now during Galus. I'll explain that later. Who exactly does the Ramban mean? Who is going to go up and who's not going to go up? Okay, Ad Kan.